Djoken is a civil rights activist from Cameroon who fled the country in his early 20s in search of better opportunities. At an early age, Djoken understood the importance of fighting for social justice, having lost his father at the hands of a justice system that was oppressing the people of his country.
Cameroon, where I was born, just like many countries in Africa, were just getting what they call independences, right? So there were, in each of these countries, there were people, patriotic people that wanted to have a real independence. And on the other hand, there were the colonizers, like France, UK, and so forth, Portugal, that were actually claiming to leave this country independent, but they actually were looking for puppets to put in place so that they can continue getting the resource that these countries, African countries had. So it just happened that my father was one of those in Cameroon that was fighting for real independence of the country. So as a result, he was persecuted. He was sent in jail as a political prisoner. So I grew up with a father was a political. So very early age, I understood why it was important to fight for social justice, right? So if you ask me who is Guy, I have so many titles, but the one that I claim is the one that I see myself as social justice activist.
Djoken left Cameroon with hopes of returning to fight for his country from abroad and began his journey to the United States. Being in a different environment was a difficult transition for Djoken, who had to leave all of his resources behind. In spite of the challenge, Djoken was determined to create the change he wanted to see and work hard to achieve his goals. Djoken has made a name for himself in the United States, working and engaging with leaders like former President Bill Clinton, Obama, President Biden, Maryland Governor Westmore, and many more. Djoken keeps climbing up the success ladder by becoming the director of the UNESCO Center for Peace and the president of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. He has won multiple awards for his work in the country. Throughout his time in the States, Djoken has been leaving impacts on communities while learning a few things as well. As an activist, Djoken learned some steps that would be best to take when approaching situations.
Sometimes it's very important to go and protest. What happened in Memphis, right? We saw what happened. People are protesting. George Floyd, people protesting, but that is not alone. Sometimes we need to find out where is the best way to get the best outcome. Sometimes it's through the legislative way. Sometimes it's through the court system, right? But we just find out again with the Supreme Court that is actually turning its back to Americans that, yes, for the longest time, women have the right, to self-determine how they're going to manage their body. Whereas the Supreme Court just come and say, oh, you know what? We don't believe in that, okay? Women should be told what to do because looks like, just like we say with Black people, they're not full human beings. So someone has to these Republican, white Republican male have to tell women what to do with their bodies. If that were to put, if you use the legal way to give those rights to women, it could not be taken away just by some few, people, Supreme Court justice. So we have, again, the protest is good. Sometimes the court system is good, but the court system is not permanent. And then there's legislative way. So we need to, these are three tools that sometimes for a battle, you can use all three to be effective. So my work as an activist, again, this is something that I like to share with other activists. When we have, but let's find what is the best tool that we're going to use to have the best outcome. Sometimes you have to go protest, then go to court, and then make sure the legislative action is taken to make sure that we have that for as law. So those are some of the tools as an activist that I've learned and that I like to share with anybody that wants to join and joining our cause.
On January 30th, Djoken was elected as the chairman of the Continental African Diversity Leadership Council in Maryland.
For me, it's kind of like a dream come true simply because, just like I said earlier, it gives me an opportunity to help organize, right? Basically, the Democratic Party has what they call special constituent, Diversity Leadership Council. DLC means Diversity Leadership Council. Basically, we want to promote diversity. One thing I usually like as a Democrat is like, go and see a national meeting of the Republicans and look at national meeting of Democrat. We don't need to say more. Which one, take any picture, anytime. Okay, you don't need, and take those pictures and say, which one is the America we all dream about? And we see that Democrat. Why? Because they're conscious effort trying to reach out to different constituents, okay? Immigrant, Asian and Pacific, and all so forth. We have, and it's reality. So the Democratic Party came out with, for the longest time, we, African-born, were lumped with African-American. Okay, it's true that someone sees me out there, they're not gonna know, are you African-American, are you African-born? There's no difference, right? But some issues that are true to African-American are not the same issues that are true with African-born on the continent. So that's why they came out with the concept considered African. So that's people that were born in Africa, but they are now here in America. Okay, so the party, I think, is going to realize that these were a speak constitution that has some issue that were true to them. Okay, so they create this this council, and as a chair of that council, my role toward the state of Maryland is to make sure that every single African-born, African immigrant in this state, okay, first of all, has a voice that is heard at all the state decision-making process in the Democratic Party. And also, we can also organize so that our voices are heard at the government level, at all level of government, at the city council, at the state council, or at the federal level, okay? The way we are going to do that is simply making sure, me, for instance, I'll take an example, some of the things I promised. As Continental Chair, I just starting my term, I'm going to be starting with a meeting in Frederick, Maryland, because everyone knows that I'm from Frederick, Maryland, okay? I'm working with folks over there to create what I call Continental African Network, Frederick chapter, okay? This is going to be a platform that I see those job will be to make sure that the voice of Africa has one voice, because we are known to be so divided. It's so easy for people to divide us and conquer, right? So we don't have to agree on all the things, but there's few things we agree on. Like everybody agree that we need to have a seat at the table.
As chairman of the Continental African Diversity Leadership Council, Guy Djoken is determined to make sure that all voices of Africa are heard, and to ensure that the American dream is attainable to all. This is TAN TV. I'm Carisha Graham.